RGB and hex versus HSL. So RGBs have red, green, and blue. Hex is short for hexadecimal because it's a 16-base system. And then we have HSL, which stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. And we use that, as I said earlier, because many people find it much more, easy to use. Because if I tell you, just to give an example, if I tell you you got 100 red, 200 green, and 50 blue, which color is it? Now you have to think a lot about that. You have to really think what that would be looking like. Because you got to combine all of them. You have to address how light it would be and a lot of things. Now, HSL, what you really need to pay heed to here is 0 to 360. That is going around the color wheel. So 0 starts at red and it ends when it goes over the whole color wheel and ends at red again. You go 360, so the whole turn around it. And if you then know where it stops, you say we stop in the middle or stop a quarter into it, and you just know the rainbow colors, you know that, okay, if I have 0 and I increase the value to, let's say, 100, yeah, then I can kind of make guess that I am that far away from red in a certain direction. And then I can, for myself, deduce, is this lighter? And if it is light or not, or if it's strong or not, is so easy to see because you can see whether or not the value is close to 100% or if it's close to 0%. So the only thing you really need to know is you. And there's also another thing that you really need to know is that this is so good when you're working with the web, because when you're working with a web, you usually present a company. You represent a company you're making a company able to communicate with its users or its customers. That's and when we do that, we have to abide by their graphic manual or profile. That profile decides on which colors we are allowed to use. So we are communicating as the company does, should be doing. So, for example, Högskolan Dalarna, they have a primary color, which is the purple one. You can recognize inside the logotype, and there's also a couple of other colors that they use here and there. But altogether, it makes it feel like Högskolan Dalarna. And when I use HSL, I can get the tone right, and then I can, and in fact, I can change now how light it is, how saturated it is, and still keep the tone and the feel of the company. And there might be limitations the company put up as how far I can go doing that. But it's also, apart from that, it's really, really good because if I can handle contrast a lot easier, I can make things easier to read because I don't mix things that, and I can just increase lightness as a background color on black. Because if I have a black text and then I have a dark background color, I believe it will be hard to read. But if I have a dark text and a light tint, a light small tint of this purple of Högskolan Dalarna, it's perfectly easy to read, and the contrast is, and it's more accessible. Therefore, so color is really about making things accessible and easy to follow. So we shouldn't do the opposite. And HSL makes it easy to do that. So that is at the core the difference between this. I don't think you ever need to convert them here, because whenever you want to really know what one thing would be, and I've talked about this, converting and so on. I also have in the slides you'll see me doing these things and explaining how you can think about converting from one to the other and just thinking about accessibility, just like I said. But I'll just right now go ahead into the Visual Studio Code and show examples of all of this, because I think you really need them. I have this, and then I have this one. So I removed this span thing going on there, and I'll start to address these colors. I can actually hover over them like this, and I get this bar. And this bar now makes it able for me to pick a color, but even better, I can change the color system. So instead of staying in red, I get it hexadecimal, or I'll get it HSL, or I get it HWB, which you don't need to know about right now. And then we have RGB, like we presented earlier. You can see I can skip between all of these. And now I went to red here, and I can, let's increase this to 100, which takes us in the color wheel. If you see to the right here, see this is a slider taking us all the way from red and back to red again. So if I increase this one up, you see I go to orange, I go to yellow, I go to green. So I'm in green at the point of 100. And then I go further and further, and I go to turquoise. And if I just know this, green is almost 100 and this one is 60, I can really, without even this one, jump around and really know is HSL. But in Visual Studio Code, why would I? I already have it. So now I only need to know if, let's go with the one previous example we had in the PowerPoint. We had an example where we used the Dalarna University code, right? Which is, so let's go ahead and take this one. It's this one. Take it. And let's remove this, and I add this hashtag, and yep, there you go. And then now I want to change this to HSL. It's 265. Cool. But it's hard to read this text. So let's just say I want to increase this one so it's lighter, the background. So save this at 90%. Now I still kept the tone. It would work really, really good together with, for example, if I had the box sizing, the border over here, if I had that in the color of Dalarna's file, now these two would fit very well together. They're actually, they're exactly the same hue, but just different lightness. Now, maybe I want this thing to be more, screaming more, so more saturated, so 100%. And I save it, and it's screaming more. But since it's so light, it doesn't scream as much. If I decrease lightness now, so we'll see how much this can scream. I can go 50%, which makes me in the middle, and I really scream. Okay? See? I can design now. I can make this really so desaturated. Now it's gray. I can make it a bit of color. I can also then, again, increase this to, let's say, 95 or 90, like I had earlier. You see, you can jump around. I still have the tone, and it's going to mix well with that tone, that hue, their value. I usually say tone sometimes, but what I'm actually talking about is this hue. So, do you imagine how useful that is? And whenever you feel confused about what is what, you can jump between like this. And I go back and I get that value almost. It actually jumped shifted and changes from 262 to 263. It was like some decimal conversion going on. But yeah, keep in mind that it's almost correct there, of course. So that is colors and how you can jump through them. These named colors, like for example, I can go Raz, Madaz. Oh, sorry, Raz. I think it's Mataz. Is it? Sorry, I really have to start doing this. Raz. Is it so? Sorry, I need to. Maybe it's not there anymore. It should be. I don't spell it correctly though, but I can go Alice Blue or something like that. I know they exist. It changes colors. So there's like so many names out there. I couldn't know them all. And you couldn't either. It's much easier to actually learn these values and understand where on the map you are. So don't use these. So with that said, I think you had examples, and of course, colors work the same way for all. So you can work with colors for background, for gradients, for colors on fonts. You can have colors on a lot of things, and borders and so on. So I thank you a lot, and I'll see you in the next part of this lecture.